Hello, everybody. This is your host, Adam. I sound depressed right now for good reason. I'm currently recording this August 24th at 7:23, and about 15-20 minutes ago, Triple H posted that Bray Wyatt has passed away at the age of 36. 2 days ago, around the same time, I believe, maybe an hour or two earlier, it was reported that Terry Funk has passed away. I'm doing this now because, well, we haven't done a lot of roll-ups or anything like that, even though there's been plenty of news we could have done that. Doing this now because, well, I think it's a good time to just remember the ones we've lost so far. Well, there's not a lot we can really say to truly convey how sorry we are for their passing. So let's just stop and look at the good times. Terry Funk. It's not to say he was afterwards. Those are just the years people are going to remember the most. His runs in ECW, his wars with Dusty Rhodes, all of them. Then you stop and hear about some of the stories outside the ring. About how he was he was kind, generous, helped people no matter what. It's stories like that that make his passing even worse. I know Mick Foley posted a heartfelt tribute to him. And it's weird because when I think of hardcore, Mick Foley and Terry Funk, those are the top two that you think of. Because those two are legitimately two of the few people who I would truly classify as hardcore legends. It's not taking anything away from others like Tommy Dreamer, Onita from Japan. Not pronouncing his first name because I'd screw it up, and I have too much respect for him to do that, so. But even Onita said that he freeloaded at Funk's house for years. Not for years, but for a while. So yeah. His passing was really felt amongst the wider world of hardcore wrestlers. Even for the generation that grew up watching him, like, they became wrestlers because of it. Like, it's stuff like that that really makes it a lot harder to stomach. Because he was a great guy who, for all intents and purposes, like, his fame was rising. I'm sure he had his demons. I don't remember hearing a lot about those demons either, so I'm assuming he fought his demons and won. And he remains an inspiration. I think even Moxley said he was one for him, so Terry Funk may be gone, but his memory will live on, and so shall his story. Now for Bray Wyatt. Fucking hell. 36. Put in... Kind of break the fourth wall here for a minute. Break that fourth wall. I'm turning 30 in November. He's 6 months old. It's like 6, maybe 7 months older than me. I don't know when his birthday is. But to just hear that, to know he has 2 kids. Like, didn't do a tribute for Sarah Lee, won WWE Tough Enough back in 2015, if I'm not mistaken. But, I mean, you just stop and think. She was 30, Bray Wyatt was 36. Both are leaving kids behind. Like, it is hard to fathom the amount of pain their families are truly going through right now. Because maybe those kids don't know how to deal with loss. Because this might be saying first, it's going to be the hardest thing to explain to them. Like, I feel bad for JoJo, who is married to Bray. I can only hope that those kids remember how great of a person Bray Wyatt was. That when they see some of the stories that are pouring out. Caleb Conley said that he worked a dark match or just a match in SmackDown where he was an extra. I don't know if it was before or after the show. Either way, Bray Wyatt watched it, and stayed 20 minutes just talking to him about it. And this was back when he was on top of the world, essentially. Like, just stop and think about that. Don't hear a lot of big stars doing that. Might hear Roman Reigns does it, Moxley, Rollins, people like that. But others you don't. And you don't want that. They want to be like, hey, this is me giving pointers. No need to share it. And odds are there's going to be a lot of cases like that where don't hear about it till past. Either way, it's just bad. Because he was on top of the world and did that. Don't hear a lot about people doing that still. Which is not too surprising, but still bad. Because that's something that should be shared. Well, I guess maybe not shared, but just I want people to be more vocal about top stars being the ones first in, last out. They stay, give pointers, just things like that. That was pretty much what we heard both about Terry Funk and Bray Wyatt. Just first in, last out, here are the pointers. Again, people probably do that. I mean, I know one of the most divisive figures in wrestling probably does that. So, it's one of those that we don't hear a lot about personally, I would love to hear more about it, but I also understand them wanting to keep it private. And for Sarah Lee's passing, didn't touch on because I didn't know how to. I feel bad for Blake and his 3 children, but they're going to grow up knowing their mother was a strong woman. He's going to be he's proudly already tried to get help with them so they can process it. And I'm glad, at least I say that, but I don't know. Listen, this podcast, it's sad. It's not one that I ever want to do. I am struggling to find words to convey just how big this is when you stop to think about it. And I really cannot do that. All I can really say is, we don't know when we're leaving. We don't know how. We just know we are. And during that time, I sincerely hope when that day comes, we can look back and say, we made sure our loved ones knew just how much they meant to us. And for Bray Wyatt, there are reports of him battling a life and career-threatening injury. And last few reports we've gotten about it was that he was close to being cleared. So take this broken podcast for what it really is. Not celebrating death, but celebrating the lives of Sarah Lee, Terry Funk, Bray Wyatt, and anybody else who may have passed in the wrestling world that I have not mentioned. And understand that they put their lives at risk for us on a daily basis. I criticize Tony Khan a lot. I criticize Vince McMahon somewhat. I rarely criticize Scott D'Amore. That's me. It's not me saying it's a character, that's just me being real. And for this podcast, I've always tried to keep a character where, I don't talk too much about Impact. Generally try to focus on other things, then bring it in here and there, like big events. But right now, the entire wrestling world is in mourning for the rest of this week. We know this to be true because Tuesday we lost Terry Funk. Today we lost Bray Wyatt. And I can only hope the rest of this week goes by without us losing another one. Because I'd rather all of them be alive, healthy. Even if that means that there are times during the year where we don't get wrestling. I'd rather have that over fearing why they're trending. Fearing when some of my favorites get up on the trending get up on trends on Twitter. And no, I won't call it X, Elon. Fuck off with your shit. But yeah, this episode is coming to an end now, to the sign off. And I just want to remind you all, remind your loved ones how much you care about them. For we do not know when, nor do we know how. Just know, we are going to die. Let's make sure we leave the world a better place. Hopefully, the next roll-up we do will be happier, but until that day, probably October or November if we're lucky, just remember the good times. Have a good night, and don't ever forget, you do matter.